Gene had called the house answering Peter's ad in Rolling Stone, and I answered the phone, and Gene said, you know, could I speak to Peter? And I said, okay, and he got Peter on the phone. And then they made an appointment, you know, to go meet, and we met them in the village, but it was just Gene and Paul at the time. It was, but they were still in Wicked Leicester. So, what? We knew him as Paul. I never called him Stanley. But anyway, I asked him why he changed his name to Paul, and he told me, Paul McCartney. Okay, yeah. Anyway, we met them in the village, right by Electric Lady, and then we went downstairs and listened to some of the Wicked Leicester stuff. And Peter, we were surprised because Gene was so concerned about, you know, when he spoke to Peter on the phone, do you look good? Do you dress good? You know, do you have, like, you know, the desire to make it, blah, blah, blah. And Peter said, of course I do. And meanwhile, Peter wanted to be the best dressed. You know, when we met them, the only reason why we knew it was them was because they had long hair and platform boots. And they had platform boots in those days. So it was like before KISS. And Peter was dressed really cool, you know, really very British looking. And then we, you know, like I said, we listened to the songs. And then Peter went, I guess, I was working in those days, so I didn't know what went on in the daytime, but he went to the studio, the rehearsal place on 23rd Street, and I guess auditioned for them, and then they took a little while, and they just, you know, they came back pretty quick and said, you're the one. It was very hard. It's hard to get drummers. Drummers are not that easy. They weren't that easy to come by. I'm not sure how it is nowadays, but in those days it wasn't. So that's basically it. I mean, they were very nice guys. I loved them then, and I still love them now. You know, they've always been, you know, really nice to me. Very, you know, just absolute sweethearts. So
awesome. So, Ron, the question for you is what was it like meeting Stanley and Gene back in the day, and the original members in Wicked Leicester? What was that like, and how did that happen?
Well, I'm really not sure who found who in this deal. I don't know if Wicked Leicester found me, or I'm sorry, Gene and Paul found me, or I found them. But I was a recording engineer at Electric Lady Recording Studios when I met these guys. And I'd formed a production company with a partner, a publishing partner that we now share as Gladwin Music. And so I was interviewing a lot of bands, and I was apparently referred to by some people who knew me in Queens. That's where Paul and Gene were from. And so they came into the studio one day, buzzer looking for Ron, and that was me. Now the story is, they weren't looking for me, they were looking for somebody else named Ron. I was the guy that they were looking for. They didn't know that. And it turned out that the guy that actually they were looking for was a chief engineer who was our equipment man in Electric Lady, and they got the wrong guy. But I was the producer that they would be looking for, not him. But I've heard various stories on this, and I can't quite understand what the real truth is. But anyway, they were really nice, clean-cut kids. I have, for the age that we were in the 70s, which were pretty dirty social, rock and roll, sex, and drugs, these kids were really, really nice kids. And they had a lot of assertiveness. They had a band that broke up, they were writing songs, they wanted to get into the business, they wanted somebody to hear their music, and they brought me this tape, and they were all excited. And I had a band that they were working with, and they played me 2 songs that were incredible. They were so incredible, I told them I don't ever want to see them again. That was the worst stuff I'd ever heard, and I said, and by the way, as a producer, there's things you got to look for when you're looking for a band. One, what's it all about? What does the lyrics say? Don't even think about the band behind you. If you don't know what you're singing and what you're singing about, nobody's going to take you. You know. So I tell you, I don't really like the sound. Go back, do something else. I'll tell you what. Sit with a guitar and sing some of your songs, about 10 or 11 or how many you have, and bring them back here and I'll listen to it. the meantime, they said to me, well, we have a band and rehearsing. At least could you come down and listen? I said, yeah, I'll do that. So they had this little loft on Canal Street that they were working out of, and I went down to see them and found that when I got there, I said, what's going on? You got nothing here? They said, yeah, we got robbed. All of the equipment got stolen. So what happened was we arranged to have like some demo space available for them in Electric Lady, and about a week later they came and they played, and in the meantime I was listening to their songs all the time and I couldn't find anything. So I said, it doesn't seem to me like we're going to, at this point, don't stop writing. Keep coming back with songs. We'll see if we can get going. So that's how the whole thing started, but they were so assertive. They were always coming back and having me listen to things. In the meantime, I was at Electric Lady, by the way, when Jimi Hendrix died, so I'd been there since early 1970. And I was very familiar with the other part of the operations that were there, including Michael Jeffries, who was he was involved in a lot of groups besides Jimmy, so he was always around. And one story was that during this period that I was hanging out with the kids, you know, they didn't know what else to do but come and play songs for me. Michael Jeffries was looking for a band. He had an agreement with Polydor Records that when they were building the recording studios, they advanced him $150, but in lieu of money, Polydor says, well, deliver us an act, deliver us 3 acts, and we'll give you $150,000, all right? And so they were an even swap. Well, Michael found two groups, but he needed a third one, and he heard me playing with these kids. He said, give me a demo of the kids, I'll bring them up to Polydor and see if they liked the band. And he did, and about a week and a half later, no, nothing, you know. So that was sort of the start. That was sort of the start of Wicked Lester, because I felt bad about it, and I said, listen, why don't we try to get some good music together? I'll try to help organize some really good demos, and we'll try to get a deal. So that's how we started together. I went outside, Famous Music, and Screen Gems, and I got some music. I worked with Carole King for about 10 years, and Barry Mann, and Cynthia Weil, and a lot of people. I did. So I got Sweet Ophelia, which was that was written by Jerry Goffin and Barry Mann, by the way. And Too Many Mondays that we did, that was Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. Yeah, so we got a couple songs from the Hollies and some other songs from Famous Music. And Billy Michelle at Famous Music heard the demo, and he said, Ron, I think I can get you a deal. I said, well, go ahead, try, because nobody else is doing anything. And for a while we didn't know what was happening, but he went to Clive Davis's Epic label in Columbia, and they liked what we were doing and offered us a deal, and that's how we got started. It was a master purchase. I did the record with them myself. They didn't know who they were. I didn't know who they were, but we just put the band together with songs, created a good atmosphere. I was an arranger. I was more of a jazz-oriented guy. I came from a classical background, so it was kind of hard for me to think about what we were doing from anything that was contemporary at that point, because not bubblegum per se, but disco and a lot of songs, pop songs were on the market. And so I really elaborated on a lot of things that I had, was doing with my own mind rather than them. And they didn't even know what was going on. I mean, they really didn't have a real identity yet. So when we finished the album looked good, but nobody told me what they were going to do for a single, because you really need a career single, like a hit single to make an album work. And what happened was during that year, I guess they got Lou Lynette, but he didn't have anything to do until CBS decided what they wanted to do with the band. And over Christmas of the year of 1972, there was a big shakeup in CBS, and they fired Clive Davis, who was the head of all the operations in the music division. And they called me up and said, we're canning all the groups that we signed with Clive Davis because we don't want to be associated with them, and we're going to ask you to buy your product back if you want. I said, you've already paid me for it, and I don't know what we're going to do. I said, well, we're not going to release the record, so I'm sorry. So we never knew how they felt about the record. We don't know if they really liked anything as a single, and the thing was a shot. That in turn kind of broke the band up. They really didn't want to play with each other from that point on. Next.